How's everybody doing? Welcome to episode 5 of the Throw It Deep podcast. We're sitting here on Monday, January 11th, 2021, and it is National Championship Game Day in Tuscaloosa. Quick little disclaimer at the start of the show. I got some roommates who are excited. I asked them not to knock on my door, but, if there's any background noise or feedback or anything like that, well, it's National Championship Game Day in Tuscaloosa, so it's hard to keep.
There are some variables in life that you cannot control, and
But,
a rowdy Tuscaloosa on National Championship Game Day is one of those variables.
And I'm not going to attempt to control it either, because that would kind of erase the magic of it. But anyway, we probably won't get too much into the National Championship in this show. We're going to have a recap of it later this week, but we're sitting here day after Super Wild Card Weekend.
Super Wild Card Weekend with 6 games, so a lot to talk about.
Wild Card Weekend. First of all, before we get into the games, I just want to say that was awesome. Having 6 games on Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah.
Having 6 good matchups. I was pretty skeptical on the 17 playoff format at first, but I am fully a believer now. That was a lot of fun.
Definitely good for ratings, obviously, and honestly, having 7 teams. I mean, it's not like the first game we can talk about. Like the Colts, they were in a mismatch. What was the other 3-7? It was the both 7s won. No.
Neither of them
competed.
They both gave a decent fight. Bears a little bit less than the Saints. I mean, a little bit less than the Colts.
I messed up the whatever, but yeah, the both teams gave a decent fight. I mean, Bears a little less, but their defense stuck with it, and Colts were right in at the end. So
yeah,
I don't think. There's always a 7th team that kind of should be in it and isn't. So,
yeah. No, it was good to see the 7th seeds kind of competing in both conferences. No game was really a blowout this weekend, which was good to see. It was really just a good weekend of football. So, I think I'm definitely firmly for the 7 teams, 6 card game format.
And another aspect of that I just kind of thought about, it keeps the number 2 seed on their toes a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, we saw it a lot with the Bills, even though they played great.
And it just
said it before, the Colts were very competitive.
The importance so much of getting that number 1 seed and having that first round bye. Now, we haven't seen the Packers or the Chiefs now, and we haven't seen the real Chiefs in a couple weeks because Chad Henne started week 17. They're coming off a loss. So Patrick Mahomes hasn't played in 2 weeks. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on if there's any rust or anything like that. But, so since we haven't seen either of the 1 seeds play in the first year, that there's only 1 first round bye. I think next week will be really interesting to see if they come out flat or anything like that. But, obviously that's something to monitor and keep an eye on. Other than that, we can probably just get right into the games.
Yeah, we'll go chronologically like we did with the preview. Start with the Bills and the Colts. Final score was Bills and Colts. Final score was 27-24 to the Bills.
Yep, and probably the last game of Philip Rivers' career. Probably.
Yeah, I would say so. And you saw his post-game presser. He was pretty emotional.
Yeah, I think
it was awesome to see. He was like, I believed it was the year the whole way through. And, hey, I think that team believed it too. And with or without Philip Rivers going forward, and I think they're going to be a little better going forward once they kind of figure out their future quarterback. But they're a really good young team. I don't think the Colts are going anywhere anytime soon. They're a great team, and they hung in this game.
Yeah, and here's my thing with Philip Rivers. He looked really good yesterday against the good Colts defense. And he didn't, he had a couple of throws one specifically that comes to mind. I think it was in the first half. It was they were on the goal line and he had like a little slant. He had Michael Pittman open and he just completely threw it behind. And I think they ended up having to settle for a field goal. And but until
the first quarter of that game.
Yeah, it was the first half. I can't remember if it was the first quarter or not. But, I mean, Rivers was okay. He didn't look like an old, decrepit man that had nothing left. I mean, and we've been talking a lot about the quarterback market this offseason. I think there's probably a team who would give Philip Rivers a 1-year deal. Why not?
Philip Rivers want to play again? Even the Colts would give him a 1-year deal.
I think the Colts are done with him. I don't think the Colts are willing to go another year with him. That I think it's more than anything though, whether he plays or not. It's he has 11 kids or something like that.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
I don't think anyone would blame him for wanting to walk away and kind of just be a father. But at the same time, he's got something left in the tank. He's not done.
He definitely has something left in the tank. I just kind of think by the way, I mean, he was crying in the post-game press conference. I mean, it kind of like
He's
he's
probably
probably
done.
done.
I'm just thinking, you know, I don't think he's going to be actively looking for a deal. But you know, I think he'll listen if some team calls.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's an interesting bridge option. I think he's an interesting bridge option for the Patriots, honestly.
Really.
I don't think it'll actually happen. This is just an idea I'm kicking around in my head. But you know, you draft the guy and let him learn under Rivers for a year, almost in that like Tua Fitzpatrick role. Why not?
I think if that kind of is the case, if it doesn't really work out perfectly in like the quarterback market for the Patriots, they're like, all right, let's look at a Rivers, maybe even a Breeze if they decide to move on from Drew Brees.
No thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd pass
on him either. That's a conversation for later in the show.
I think
he's
done. Yeah, we'll get to that. But anyway, this game, not a whole lot to say about Buffalo in this one. I mean,
I think I've heard a couple people overreact to the fact that this was only a 3-point win for Buffalo. Let's not shade how good Indianapolis is. Like,
they're a playoff team. The Colts are 100% a playoff team this year. And it's not. Yes, the Bills got to play the 7th seed in the first round, but 7th seed wasn't a pushover.
No,
they were. I think definitely better than the Steelers.
Yeah, which we'll get to later.
That was probably both of our favorite game of the week. Yeah. So what jersey you have on today?
Braylon Edwards for 2 reasons. One, before we get ahead of ourselves, I'm happy about the Browns beating the Steelers. Like that's awesome. I mean, in the circumstances as well, like they didn't practice in a couple weeks, like consistently. Head coach isn't there. Underdogs, they're getting shade. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster's telling them that the Browns are the Browns, you know.
Yeah, let's save that. Let's save all that analysis for when we get to the game. But obviously, very awesome. We'll stick with the Buffalo game for now.
Another reason to wear the Braylon Edwards jersey. Yes, Ohio's Ohio and Ohio State's playing tonight, but don't forget Braylon Edwards went to Michigan, so we're not doubling down in Ohio. Roll Tide.
Anyway, so I thought Josh Allen was pretty great. Honestly, I mean that's you could argue top 5. But definitely a top 10 defense in Indianapolis, I think. So, I mean, you know, the Colts are a team that they're, like you just said, they're going to be around for a while. I think.
Not going anywhere.
Young, awesome defense. Really, like Darius Leonard is blossoming into one of the best linebackers in football already.
He made a couple big plays.
That's another one that, you know, you want to talk about draft gripes. We've gotten into that. I think we took Sony Michel like 4 picks before Darius Leonard got taken.
And again, that's another thing that we could get into later with how well Nick Chubb played. They're in the same backfield, and you picked the Duncan Dink guy, not the.
I think it was more of an injury thing than anything in that decision.
That's true. That's something I completely just forgot about. But yeah, Darius Leonard, 12 tackles, and he made a few amazing, huge.
He's an absolute stud. He's like well on his way, if not already, one of the best linebackers in football.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's a young captain of that defense. He's probably going to be around for the next decade. Like you were saying about the Colts, like it's going to be interesting to see what they do quarterback-wise because obviously the hot rumor for them was Carson Wentz being reunited with Frank Reich. If they can make that happen, I mean –
there's so much going on in the Eagles front office right now. Actually, as we speak, I think it's Jeffrey Lurie and Doug Pederson are meeting right now to discuss if his vision going forward is the vision that Jeffrey Lurie wants for the team. So there's a lot going on with Philadelphia. So we'll see if Wentz is the guy. But there's also a long offseason. So
you know, they're the Colts are a team that, you know, you say a quarterback away, but you know they had some decent quarterback play this year, and they were 11-5.
11-5, yeah, and like a really good 11-5. I think in another year, this Colts team could be looking at like that. I mean, this was a really good Colts team. You could be looking at them winning the division in another year.
If I'm not mistaken, they lost to Jacksonville week 1.
They did.
But the Colts did, and then Jacksonville rattled off 15 straight losses, and then the Colts did what they did, obviously. It's you know, I think it kind of just speaks to the AFC in general because I think the AFC going forward is really, really tough.
Yeah, it is.
You know, if the Colts figure out their quarterback situation, the Chargers are an up and comer. You know, obviously Justin Herbert's awesome. Once they figure out how to stop losing close games, they're going to be dangerous.
They've been a head coach away for like ever.
Obviously, we know about the Chiefs. We know about the Bills. We know they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Miami, we'll see what happens with Tua if he can improve. But Miami was really good this year. They were kind of a quarterback away too. Even a team like the Bengals with Joe Burrow.
On the rise,
Obviously, I
maybe
think
a few years away.
I think they're a few years. Yeah, they're definitely a few years away. I don't think they're going to compete in the AFC next year. It's just another one of those young teams that's on the rise. I like their young head coach and Zach Taylor, and I mean,
The
it's just
AFC
another
is
example.
there.
The
And
AFC is
also,
going
I
to be
mean,
tough for
you
you.
speak of the Dolphins with Tua. I'm sure everybody's seen the rumors about Deshaun Watson. That's a whole other can of worms to open. But
Yeah, we should probably get into that a little bit later because that is like a very hot
that's
topic.
a hot topic. That's something that we can't miss out on today. I mean,
And,
there's a lot of teams that could use Watson, and
even
he wants out for a reason.
with AFC, even Jacksonville, you bring in Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer's coming, by the way. Like that's going to happen. By the way,
That's enough to, obviously, again, they're not going to be competitive next year. They probably won't be competitive the year after that, but they're another team that's going to be on the rise. The AFC is just full of awesome young talent. And I think I would say it's significantly brighter future in the AFC than in the NFC.
Good.
which yeah, good for you, not so good for me.
Yeah.
But you have anything else on this game?
Speak quickly on Buffalo. Buffalo played their game. It was kind of a business trip for them, even though it became a really close game at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything much to read into this game for Buffalo. I think it's a really interesting matchup this week, which is again something we'll talk about later. But
Baltimore,
watch out for Buffalo. Also, this is Buffalo's first playoff win. Correct me if I'm wrong. Since '95.
Something like that, yeah. And the Browns too got their first one since I believe it was '94.
'94 was the date on that. I'm positive about that. Yeah. Allen leads the Bills their first playoff win since '95. So a few teams breaking some. They
showed it last night during the game. The last Browns playoff win. I think it was Belichick over Parcells for the Patriots, which is funny, but
that is really wow.
Yeah. So that's a little blast from the past from before we were alive for you, but
yeah.
Yeah, with Buffalo, they got a relatively tough matchup next week in Baltimore. But honestly, I see them handling Baltimore. We'll do a full divisional round.
Yeah, we'll do a full divisional round preview, but I agree with you on that one.
But we'll see what happens with that. But we can probably move on to the second game.
Rams and Seahawks.
Rams and Seahawks. So John Walford got the start for the Rams, right?
And yeah, you know who got the start for the Eagles last year against the Seahawks? Carson Wentz. And the same fate happened to both quarterbacks.
Yeah. I believe last playoffs it was what, Clowney that
it was the first year Seahawks defender, Jadeveon Clowney. Jamal Adams this year. Both did not get penalized.
Was it Jamal Adams? It
was Jamal Adams. It was Jamal Adams.
Wow. So yeah, what a weird scene that was to see John Walford taken off the field and then his backup Jared Goff comes in to save.
So
it was just an odd scene.
So I guess Walford was the decision going into the game, and we also saw. Goff played as well as he needed to play to get this win, but
he didn't play well if you look at his numbers. But
no, he didn't at all. But he was, enough. He did enough, but he was not 100%.
I mean, they won this game how they've been winning games all year on the back of
the defense. Yeah,
that Rams defense
and Cam Akers. He played really.
Cam Akers had a really good game. He had 28 carries, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Goff's numbers were 9 of 19 for 155, a touchdown, and no picks. So could have been worse. I guess.
Thought it was interesting that Walford went into that game like the starter, and I like Walford. So
I mean, if you were going to start Walford, fine, but it was just weird to have Jared Goff on the bench as the backup option.
Well, I thought it was who's their third back? It's not Bortles anymore because he went to
It was I think it's not Bortles, but
using the Broncos now.
They didn't have another quarterback dress.
Oh my Lord.
So they said during the broadcast that their backup when Goff came in, they said during the broadcast that the emergency quarterback is Johnny Hecker, who's the punter.
Quarterback in high school. And we've seen make a few plays. So
yeah, so they had two. They only dressed two quarterbacks, which was interesting because if you thought Goff was not able to go, which obviously they did think that because they didn't start him.
Yeah.
Johnny Hecker could have been the quarterback.
Are they allowed to bring in a quarterback? I'm sure they will.
I'm sure they're allowed to bring one in, but they probably have to, quarantine or whatever for 5 days.
I'm sure people on the waiver wire are on top of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Walford's not dressing this weekend. I can tell you that much.
yeah, he's like done, right?
He has to be. I mean, if you saw the look in his eyes, he went to the. It was really tough to see,
He had
honestly.
to go to the, he had to go to the emergency room and stuff.
Like
Yeah,
right away, he was there during the
yeah,
game. Yeah. So
it was not a great scene, but yeah, again, just very strange seeing Jared Goff come in that backup role. But he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make many mistakes. He didn't look good, like I just said, but he
did
didn't
enough.
make. He did enough. He took care of the football, and the Rams defense was kind of able to. We've been talking about it before, but the Seahawks and just the different versions of them showing up. They were great on defense yesterday too. The defense kind of, going against John Walford and then broken thumb Jared Goff, you might have to take that with a grain of salt. But, at the same time, Seahawks defense looked great yesterday and they just couldn't get anything going on offense.
And we could shift focus from one team's quarterbacks to the other. Russell Wilson looked terrible.
Yeah, he was bad. He was not. He was like not impressive at all. And so Russ went 11 for 27 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick.
17.6 quarterback rating.
It's not going to be good enough to win in the playoffs.
Not going to be good enough to win in the playoffs, especially when you're Russell Wilson. And I've mentioned this before. Russell Wilson has had these monstrous first halves of the season, and since what was the year 2013, the Super Bowl was here in New Jersey. Since that year, I mean, it's kind of been a dud on the second half of I mean, I guess the year after when.
Yeah, I mean, and not to take anything away from Russell Wilson.
Oh, he's a wonderful player, but he's got to finish.
He's like a top 3 quarterback in the league.
Absolutely.
Probably top 2, I would say, behind Mahomes. But
I disagree. But
you could play that game all day.
Rodgers.
But Russ probably wouldn't have won a Super Bowl early in his career if it weren't for that Legion of Boom defense, and he probably wouldn't have gotten back to another one.
Yeah,
which is really interesting. I mean, again, not to take anything away.
Russell Wilson's the man, and he's incredible. But he had a really bad game this weekend. And there's something to be said about the Rams defense, which is probably the best in the league. Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say, a couple of years ago, Jalen Ramsey's running his mouth. It's like, this guy, he walks the walk as well as talks the talk. I mean, he almost reminds you of a Deion Sanders, but like even better in coverage. Like,
DK Metcalf had that one long play. The play.
Other than that, he was pretty much shut down. I mean, he had 5 receptions for 96 yards.
It's not like he burned anyone on that play. The play kind of broke down. He was standing there and just pointed and just, he made a great football play. He made a great decision. It was awesome, but it was far from any kind of blown coverage or anything. He just saw a lot of open space and said, "I'm faster than these guys," and kind of just took off, and Russ put it where it needed to be. But I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about these Seahawks. The first half of the year, the problem was their defense, and they were giving up 40 points to even like Cam Newton week 2. So I mean, where do they go from here? Because they didn't lose games. Their season didn't end as a result of their defense, which was kind of their bugaboo the entire first half of the season. You heard like the big narrative was that, Russ has never gotten an MVP vote, and like this is Russ's year, let Russ cook. And he just completely fell off the wagon the second half of the year. And the defense went in the opposite direction. I'm just still here struggling to understand what happened to the Seahawks this year.
I kind of, where you say, what do you do with the Seahawks? Honestly, what can you do? Move forward. Keep going. This is not a bad team. That's still a great quarterback. That's still a defense that's on the rise, got their first year with, again, you look at a guy like Jamal Adams, on top of having guys like Bobby Wagner on that defense. He's a quarterback on the defense. He kind of orchestrates what's going on over there. I mean, they were 12-4 this year. It's not like they were a bad team at all. They collapsed at the end and had a horrible showing. But again, the Rams were pissed. You came into our building, lit a cigar, said, we're the champs, and it came out and took them down. I think if you're the Seahawks, especially like we mentioned earlier in the NFC, it's kind of a weaker conference. There doesn't have to be huge moves to be made. You obviously hold on to your head coach, obviously. You hold on to your quarterback, obviously. You have 2 young receivers. I mean, Lockett's not exactly young, but you have Metcalf in there.
Yeah, and it's like, what do they do? What do they do to fix their problems on all? Because
execute.
I think coaching and scheming wise is kind of what got the defense right. But it's not like they don't have the personnel on offense. I guess maybe you draft offensive line. I don't.
Oh yeah. That's got to be the focus. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, I guess you could say that's probably their biggest weakness because they have the weapons, they have the running game, they have the quarterback, and the defense was not the problem. So, I mean, I don't know where else you look to improve other than that.
Yeah, again, it's got to be your offensive line. They'll be back. We haven't seen the last.
They're not going anywhere. They're not. I mean,
now something interesting that I just kind of thought of. Take away that Clowney hit on Wentz last year. Like, we got to the red zone 5 times. Say what you want about Wentz right now. At the time, he was a great red zone quarterback. We didn't score a touchdown in that game. We lost that game by 8 points. We probably end up winning that game if Wentz is in the game.
Yeah.
Then Seattle loses to Dallas the year before, and then Seattle loses to the Rams here this year. So that you would be looking at 3 straight first-round exits.
Yeah, and yeah, they definitely kind of got bailed out last year by facing a 41-year-old Josh McCown in a playoff game.
Yeah.
And like I just don't know what Seattle is going to do this. It's really interesting because they kind of since after the Patriots Malcolm Butler Super Bowl, they haven't had that Legion of Boom awesome defense. I think the next year they went back to the playoffs, and that was the Blair Walsh Vikings game. So the year after that Super Bowl loss, they really should have had a first round exit to Minnesota. And I don't know.
We're kind of dissecting what the Seahawks have been doing.
Yeah, obviously they've been one of the probably top 5 franchises in the league over the past.
Yeah, I mean, they're always there. They're always there.
Wins wise, they're probably top 3. But I mean, I don't know when Russ has been asked to kind of be the man and be like the focus piece and be how they win games, they haven't gone far in the playoffs. And so maybe they need to keep building up the defense. I don't know. But maybe it's going to take.
One thing's for certain, we won't see any crazy overhauls with this team. But
the core will still be there. I just
got to execute. They just got.
Maybe they need more than just a good defense. Maybe they need an elite defense to be able to contend in the playoffs. I don't know, but
here's an interesting shout. I think Clowney signed with the Titans on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, like right before the season.
Bring him back?
Sure. It's not like Clowney did himself any favors this year in terms of contract.
So he's going to be
relatively affordable.
Yeah.
He's still young. I think it probably more than anything with Clowney in Tennessee, it was an issue of scheming and not using him properly.
Yeah, had to be.
Because he was dominant in Seattle. He was great. Yeah. And so, sure, you could then maybe take a look about thinking bringing him back.
Now to shift focus back to the Rams, going forward, again, their defense is what's going to carry them. And we don't want to get too far into this weekend's games, but I'm looking at that one matchup, that Ramsey-Adams matchup.
Yeah,
it would be a difference maker.
The Rams, I think, are about to be in a really interesting situation because they have one of the top 5 coaches in the league. And I think they have probably a top 5 roster in terms of talent in the league. But
that quarterback.
You're fine at quarterback. Jared Goff's fine.
Better. There's a big market. You can get better.
They're not, but they won't. That's like they won't get into, and they're gonna find themselves in a situation probably a couple years down the line where they're ready to win maybe even next year.
Maybe even right now.
They're like, yeah.
If they can win this weekend, there's a strong chance they
have a Super Bowl talented roster, 100%. So, I mean, they're going to win games with Jared Goff at quarterback. That's why I don't think they're going to get rid of him.
Super Bowls with Jared.
But without a doubt, he's holding you back.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be more clear than ever next year because they're going to be great on defense again, and Goff is going to be Goff. He'll be all right. They'll score some points. McVay will scheme up some stuff to get people open. Goff will do his job, but they could do a lot better, quarterback wise.
That's why I'm thinking I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they definitely will look at that position in the offseason. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they make a move either.
Not out of the realm of possibility. I would say it's unlikely, though.
It's definitely unlikely.
At least the move for another starting quarterback, I would say, is very unlikely.
Could draft the guy.
I mean, maybe at like what 25 they're gonna pick probably.
Yeah.
So
I don't mind that.
I mean,
Say Matt Falls.
it's interesting because I think the Patriots are gonna find themselves in a similar situation. We're gonna get to 15 in the draft. Obviously, Lawrence is going to be gone. Fields is going to be gone. Probably Zach Wilson is most likely going to be gone. By the time the Rams pick, Trey Lance is for sure going to be gone too if he enters the draft. I don't know. At that point, you probably just wait. You don't get.
What if you get to
that first
15? What if you get to 15 and either one of those guys or someone the Rams really like is there?
You could look at a trade up,
and they trade you Goff. Just playing trade. Why not?
Oh, trade Goff to the Patriots.
I wouldn't want it.
I don't.
I wouldn't want it.
Not bad, but I
better.
don't. Could absolutely do better, and I think the Rams are going to find that out pretty soon because I think they're headed for a beatdown in Lambeau next week.
Really? It's going to be interesting to see how LaFleur and the Packers figure that whole situation out against that defense. But I think I agree. I think they're going to win that game. But I don't. Again, not out of the realm of possibility at all that the Rams go in.
I don't know what. Maybe not beat down. I don't know what the line would be, but
I'll probably take. 7.
Yeah, I would take the Packers to cover that. I think they'll win by 10 to 14. But the Rams are I'd say one of the most interesting teams in the league to keep your eye on this offseason. But again, I really don't think they're going to make a serious big move for a quarterback. But maybe a couple of years down the line, we'll see. We can probably go to the next game. Which was Saturday night.
So me and you went into this game thinking, I can't wait to see Brady. And Brady played great. 384 yards, 2 touchdowns, 84 quarterback rating, 22 at 40. Played great. He played like Tom Brady. But he was not the quarterback story of this game. No. Not at all. Taylor Heineke, who has a great story, XFL guy, he played his butt off. He played just as good as you could. You could make an argument. I don't have every Washington football team game off the top of my head, but he may have had the best quarterback performance of them all season yesterday. Yeah,
and he actually on the diving touchdown in the third quarter. So it was 18 to 10. They were down. He ran and dove for a touchdown, extended into the pylon. They didn't get the 2-point conversion, so they didn't tie the game. But it's 18-16. He separated his shoulder on that play. And came out, and what's his name? Steven Garcia, I think, came in and, didn't do much. Maybe it's not Garcia.
He's not on the stat line, so.
I think he only came in for a couple of plays. Or no, he didn't come in at all. He was warming up.
Yeah, he was warming up, and that was the deal.
I was not watching this game at my own house. I didn't have sound, so I missed a couple of things. But, he came back in after a separated shoulder and kept them in the game and did what he could. Taylor Heineke probably just secured himself another 10 years in the NFL, at least as a backup.
He's actually a lot older than you think he is.
How old is he?
Taylor Heineke is 27. So
that's
another 5.
That's a journeyman backup, I think.
Yeah.
So I think he probably just extended his career quite a bit. I wouldn't mind bringing him into New England.
Yeah, he'd be a great backup. He can, even if you want to compete for a starting job. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But I saw a lot out of Taylor Heineke, a lot of heart, a lot to respect. He wasn't bad. He was good.
He made some really, really nice throws.
Kept him in that game.
On the run, on the sidelines, he looked good. Taylor Heineke had a good, and it's not like that Bucs defense stinks. That's like one of the better defenses in football for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, wow. I guess you could. So 31-23 final. I believe when we recorded last time, the line was set at 8, so that actually pushed. If we're
the line went up when Alex Smith came out. Which, by the way, they weren't winning this game, they weren't within 8 points or a score if Alex Smith is playing. Not at all.
No way. And Heineke did have one pick. I don't remember off the top of my head if it was bad or not, but he played without a doubt as good as he can. He also had 6 carries for almost 50 yards, and obviously that rushing touchdown too. So he's got some things to like. I would definitely take him on as a backup option for Taylor Heineke.
Yeah. I liked him a lot. Again, the heart, everything to go along with it. Tampa, Tom Brady, Tampa, they did their thing. we weren't really surprised that they won that game at
Yeah,
all.
we covered Taylor Heineke, so let's shift focus.
Yeah. Again, because that was the story. The
now,
first thing I noticed here on the stat line, we all thought Mike Evans was done.
I was about to bring it up. Yeah.
6 receptions, 119 yards. And I think the Tom Brady, Mike Evans connection has been awesome to see.
He loves Mike Evans. He absolutely, he hasn't had a guy that he feels like he can just throw it up to like that. I mean, since Randy Moss.
Yeah.
So,
and I think week by week,
absolutely love.
Week by week, we're seeing Mike Evans become more and more his number one guy, as he should be, but you're kind of seeing that distinguish it.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying I think the third episode, look out for the Bucks because they're really good and they haven't even had a full off season to establish any kind of chemistry. So yeah, I think it was Bruce Arians who came out this week and said Mike Evans at 80% is better than a lot of guys at 100%. I don't know what percent Mike Evans was at, but he didn't look
at 100.
Yeah, he kind of looked like he was at 100%. So Antonio Brown, another long touchdown for him.
Emerging.
That connection is starting to emerge a little bit. No catches for Gronk. Cameron Brate had a touchdown, I believe, or he had 4 catches for 80 yards. Maybe he didn't have a touchdown. Godwin had a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, again, just kind of Brady spreading it around to everyone and zipping the ball all over the field. Brady looked great. He looked
Brady looked not like he was 43.
Again, not this is a Washington defense that kind of I was a little nervous for Brady going into that game because Washington kind of has that formula that's given Brady problems in the past in that nasty front seven that they have. So I thought I kind of, as the game got closer, I thought Washington would definitely at least make it a game, and they did for sure. But it wasn't because they contained the Bucs offense and Tom Brady. It was because Taylor Heineke kept them in the game. Yeah. So Brady just I don't know what else to say about this man at this point. He had some serious zip on his passes. He was throwing it accurately.
Again, not to get ahead of ourselves, which excuse me for doing it. I think Tampa Bay is winning this weekend, and I'm pretty confident about it.
We'll get to it, but I think they have a good chance as well. And I mean, I don't know. Taylor Heineke kind of tore up their defense, so I think it'll be a shootout. But we'll see what happens. If they can force Aaron Rodgers into
a turnover, have Taylor Heineke than Drew Brees right now, talent-wise.
I would too.
I think another interesting thing to know about.
I was thinking it was Bucks Packers for a second. It's Bucks Saints, but I think the Bucks are going to steamroll the Saints. But
I think another interesting thing to note about the Bucks offense is it's not even next man up. It's like who's ready to go. It's like, or not even who's ready to go. Who am I going to? And they better be ready. We saw almost all season long Ronald Jones be the lead back. And correct me, I mean, he doesn't have any rushing stats here, so I guess he didn't play. But
now he was on the bench. I don't think he played. He dressed and he was on the bench. They kept showing him during the game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he had some injury or something going on. I don't believe he got a carry the whole game. It was Fournette.
And there you go. Fournette, cut from his team, didn't even dress for a game down the stretch this season. And there he is, 19 carries, 93 yards and a touchdown. He looked great.
Fournette was awesome.
Forget the running backs. You go to the receiving game. Gronkowski and Brady they've been a duo for a decade now, but they've been over the season. Gronkowski's been more in the offense. You forget who Cameron Brady even is. 4 catches, 80 yards.
And one guy that I really want to give a special shout out to on that Bucs offense, he actually only had 1 catch for 15 yards yesterday. But if I'm remembering correctly, it was on a clutch third down. My guy, Scott Miller. So there just had to be a guy like that in this Bucs offense that we never heard of before the season started. And he's kind of, again, he only had 1 catch yesterday, on Saturday, but he's kind of become Brady's goat. He likes throwing deep to him.
He's a safety blanket, but at the same time, they throw deep. Yeah, you're right. They throw deep to him. So,
and there just had to be that guy that no one had ever heard.
You're looking up where he's from. I believe it's Bowling Green.
It is Bowling Green. Yes. Yeah. I should have had that information locked and loaded. But anyway, I mean, the Bucs are just really a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching that, in a year. Obviously, I've said it since the start of the year. All my friends have been like, "Oh, what? So are you a Bucs fan now because Tom Brady's there?" No, I'm not a Bucs fan. I still love the Patriots, but did the Bucs give me more joy watching this season than the Patriots did? Of course,
absolutely.
I
Bucks gave
absolutely
me
love,
more joy, and I have no horse in the race there at all.
I absolutely loved watching the Bucks this season, and I think they're going to be even better next year. So we'll see what happens this week with them.
I mean, you could say Tom Brady's not getting any younger. We've been saying that for literally
43. What's the difference between 43 and 44?
Yeah, a birthday cake. That's about it.
Oh yeah, literally. So, unless you have any other thoughts on that, that'll probably move to the next game.
We're gonna move on to Sunday, I guess, which is I always love to see this.
Now,
before we even get into this game, when we talk about rivalries in sports, there's always this thing we got to latch on to, that they got to be in the same division. They got to be in the same. These two teams created a rivalry off of not liking each other. These two teams hate each other. And I love to watch that because it's a true rivalry. It's not just, the Eagles are rivals with Washington because we've been in this. I mean, and I don't like Washington but it's not, this is true hatred. And it was really fun to watch.
Kind of a natural rivalry just created out of hatred and not the fact that they play each other twice a year. Yeah, I know what you're getting at with that. So yeah, both the Sunday afternoon games, or both the Saturday afternoon and the Sunday afternoon games, were probably the two best games of the weekend. For whatever reason, the early games were just better. But yeah, we'll get right into this one. So Ravens 20, Titans 13. Lamar Jackson gets that elusive playoff win.
Off an elusive run.
Yeah, he had the 50-yard rushing touchdown, which honestly was the difference.
It was the difference
not,
in the game.
Not the difference in the game, but the turning point for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, don't forget it was 10-0 Titans. People were like, "Oh shoot,"
Yeah.
and turn around.
Let's talk about Lamar real quick. Let's just get it out of the way.
So you and I have the same opinion on Lamar Jackson. It's a great football player, not a great passer.
I think yesterday kind of reaffirmed that opinion because he had what? I think he had like 175 yards. Yeah, he was 17 of 24 for 179 yards and a pick, and then obviously 16 carries, 136 yards and a touchdown. By the way, that pick he threw to Malcolm Butler in the first half
was like horrible.
Like one of the worst I've ever seen.
I was saying this, we're in similar group chats. We just talk about football all day. This isn't the only we talk about football. We keep doing it.
We're 24 hours.
Yeah. The one thing I pointed at was like Lamar Jackson, one drive makes, plays where it looks like he's been coached. It looks like, obviously he has been, looks like he's working at his mechanics every day on top of his stuff. And then he has another drive that looks like he's a backyard football player. He throws all mechanics out, and that throw was one of them. I mean, he just completely threw up a duck.
I mean, it just dropped into Butler's breadbasket.
Yeah.
Which I always loved seeing Malcolm Butler pick just for the nostalgia of it.
He actually were picking on him.
Yeah, he almost had another pick in the end zone on the play where he cut. It kind of looked a little bit similar to the Super Bowl play. He kind of made the cut in front of the guy, and it went through his hands. He probably should have. It would have been a great play, but he probably should have made it. But yeah, I mean, Lamar, probably the most unsurprising Lamar performance is all I can say.
This is who Lamar Jackson. That's another thing I said. This is who Lamar Jackson is. He's
they went 11-5 and just won a playoff game. It's if that's the formula what you want to go with, go ahead. But
go ahead. Yeah, it's a winning formula.
Don't try to tell me Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback though.
He's not a good passer. I mean, you could define what quarterback is. It's does he need to drop back and throw the ball?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. No one's gonna sit here and tell me that Lamar Jackson is objectively a good passer. He's not.
He's not. So, but he made the throws he needed to.
Yeah,
kept him in this game with his feet and his legs, and they got the win. And
I mean, props to Lamar because he's like a big reason why they won the game. His legs,
100%.
Yeah, it's not. It was like I said, it was a classic Lamar performance. Not great throwing the ball, but electrifying running the ball, and that's how they won the game. But I think
offense runs around that. So
I think the biggest at least difference maker in this game was Derrick Henry not being able to get
nothing.
It was 18 carries for like
18 carries for 40 yards, and that's got to be the formula to beat Tennessee. It's funny how Tennessee figured out the formula to beat Baltimore last year. Flip the script this year. You can't get Derrick Henry going. I mean, and I love Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a great quarterback, but he's another guy who I think is great on that offense is A.J. Brown. Holy crap, he's a good player. But if you can't get Derrick Henry going and you're forcing Tannehill to drop back and throw the ball, don't get me wrong, I like Ryan Tannehill, but you're asking him to do a lot for winning that game by himself, kind of.
Now, It's funny you say that the formula is kind of to shut down Derrick Henry. It's funny because that's like the most obvious thing ever. But you just if you don't have the personnel to do it, you don't have the personnel to do it. The Ravens were looking quick yesterday, getting to the edge, like just kind of setting that edge and setting the tone for the whole game. I think Derrick Henry knew right away, wow, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
So
hard to see that. I love Derrick Henry, but
Ravens are going to be looking at obviously Buffalo next week. A little bit different attack in terms of what they can do throwing the ball.
A lot of different.
If you're going to be able to shut down Derrick Henry, you're probably going to beat the Ravens. So looking ahead for the Titans this offseason, real quick, they might lose their offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith.
I think they will.
I don't
know.
I'd be wary of hiring Arthur Smith.
After this game, I'm not sure. I would have told you, and I said it in the last show. Yeah, I mean, he's in line for a head coaching job. After watching this game, when you don't really have an answer to shutting down Derrick Henry, there's only one Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, it's not like you're gonna get hired and have another Derrick Henry. You're not. So I would be wary of that. I wouldn't want to hire him I don't think as a head coach after that. But anyway,
at least we saw Stefanski have a stinker in the playoffs. Got hired as a head coach and then won a game from his basement. We'll talk.
That's actually a good point. One thing we do need to talk about with this game is Mike Vrabel, because 10 minutes left.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is a very good point. You punt, you lose. You punt, you lose.
Yeah, so it was 3rd and 2. They schemed something up for Jonnu Smith. I can't remember who hit him, but someone hit him hard and he dropped the ball. And so it's 4th and 2, right around like the 40-yard line. 10 minutes left, and he punts.
Here's the rationale. Do I agree with it?
7. They were down 7 at the time.
They were down 4.
Down 4. Okay.
Yeah. And then the Ravens went down and kicked the field goal. You're down 4. There's 10 minutes left in the game. You have 3 timeouts. I'd like to think I can trust my defense inside of this. Obviously, inside of Mike Vrabel said, go for it in that situation, especially later in the day. We'll talk about the same thing. I would go for it. You're cutting off momentum, but at the same time, you're saying I'm going to trust my defense inside the 20 rather than my defense at the 45. But you punt, you lose. They got the ball back with 4 minutes left, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and they had already gotten to midfield, and they'd been struggling to move the ball all day. I don't know how you punt that ball away.
Yeah,
that lost them the game. I mean, that lost them the game. Not that there's any guarantee they would have won the game if they had gone for it and gotten it, because you still need to go about another 50 yards down the field. Down 4, a field goal does nothing for you. But at the same time, he really kind of took an opportunity to win the game away from them.
Yeah,
by punting that ball. And it's not like it was the worst call of all time. I can see why.
Yeah, again, like I said, it makes sense. You say they go 3 and out, you get the ball back with 7.5 minutes left, 3 timeouts. You know what I mean?
But it didn't work out that way. We're having a different conversation now. So yeah. But other than that, AJ Brown is also.
Well, one thing we got to bring up is again that rivalry. What do you think about teams not shaking hands after the game?
I thought it was pretty cool that Lamar just took a knee and ran into the locker room.
I like that too. Here's the thing. Again, it's tradition to shake hands, and I'm glad the head coaches did, because that's the only thing that I need to. Head coaches got to shake hands, period. And even when they have bad blood, and Harbaugh's yelling in week 11, we mentioned in the last show that we thought they played. They absolutely played. It was the whole thing where Harbaugh said it was Bush League by the Titans. Titans went out and beat them. Thing is, they shook hands, but Lamar said it perfectly. Like, there was no reason to shake hands after that game. We don't like each other. Why are we going to shake hands? The Ravens just stomped all over their logo. They're not about to shake hands 25 minutes later, There's
something to be said about sportsmanship. Sportsmanship's cool. It's a good thing. But at the same time, I'm not one of those people who is going to be offended if you don't show sportsmanship.
Well, it's not even that there was no sportsmanship showed. It was like, we don't like each other. Why would we fake this? It would clearly be a fake, No, why would they do that?
Yeah, so, I didn't really have a big problem with it.
No, I liked it. I was saying before, they better not go shake hands after you just stomp on their logo.
Honestly, I think it's good for the game.
I agree.
Just again, say the boomers might get upset about sportsmanship, but having rivalries out of nothing is good for the game, undoubtedly.
Yeah. This is whenever we see the Ravens and the Titans play, or whenever the NFL sees it, rather, they're going to say, "Oh, we can move this rivalry. We can sell this rivalry."
I don't know. I don't know if they're supposed to play next year or not, but you could for sure see that on like a Sunday night slot. I mean, I'd have to look at that.
I was just thinking if they were both the division winners, but obviously they weren't because the Steelers were.
So unless you have anything else on that game, we can probably
move on to the Nickelodeon game.
It's going to go down in history as the day the slime cannons went off.
I think they're going to do it again.
I think they're going to do it again as well.
It was successful enough on social media, and it garnered enough traction for where they almost can't do it again. They can't not do it again.
I don't have cable anymore in my house, so I've been watching the game streaming wise. So I didn't have a way to tune into the Nickelodeon broadcast.
Trust me, I was who I was with. We were like, all right, we got to watch the Nickelodeon stream. I don't have cable either anymore. I have Hulu TV, and Nickelodeon isn't carried on Hulu. So we found a stream for it, and like 5 minutes in, it was like I didn't want to watch any. I didn't want to hear it anymore. They had an actress from one of the shows who's like 15 and has like never watched a football game seriously. Just go like, oh wow, whatever. There's like it was.
And you don't want to miss an opportunity to hear the golden silky voice of Jim Nantz
and Tony Romo.
And of course, Tony Romo,
which was tough for them to go against that for any actual football fans. Another thing that they were doing a lot in that broadcast was like teaching the rules to kids and stuff, which I get, obviously. And they were targeting our demographic. They did a good job. They were trying to teach the rules to kids. They were, relating things to, oh, these guys used to play at recess. Yeah, you're targeting your demographic. It's not for me, and it wasn't meant for me. But definitely a lot of internet meme material came out of that game.
Yeah, it was entertaining. The slime cannons and stuff were cool. They'll do it again. I mean, again, like in a serious sense, like it's very cool what they tried to do to kind of try to bring football to a kid's demographic and stuff. I don't know how effective it really was. It kind of became more of a joke than anything.
I think the joke was kind of the big deal there.
Again, I like the idea. I'm not gonna sit here and crap on it.
Definitely had to talk about it though.
Yeah, that I think we've probably lended enough airtime to the Nickelodeon broadcast.
Except for one more thing that I thought was really cool, kind of the power of Barstool. They're like, everybody vote for Mitch Trubisky for
for MVP. Nickelodeon MVP. Yes, so Mitch Trubisky is now the first ever winner of the prestigious MVP award. So congratulations to my guy, Mitch Trubisky. And
Mitch has the MVP. Deshaun Watson has the college football playoff, and Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl.
So really makes you think the Bears probably made the right move.
Yeah, I mean, you got the only ever. I mean,
only ever in history MVP. So good for Mitch Trubisky. But anyway,
onto the football.
So 21-9 final, and it really wasn't that close. The Bears scored a touchdown on the very last play of the game. Jimmy Graham,
wonderful catch.
Jimmy Graham in maybe his last game ever. Maybe this could have been his last. I think it's possible. I mean, the way he like ran off the tunnel like that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a pretty cool send off to just catch a one hand, say, look, this terrible offense that I was a part of this year, I'm just going to catch a one-handed touchdown and then walk off and not come back.
In his old stadium.
Yeah. Maybe he comes back. Maybe he doesn't. It's probably like 50-50. I've heard a lot of retirement buzz from him. That's the only reason I brought it up. Okay. But he grabs a one-handed touchdown in the last play of the game to make it look a little bit closer. But, it was really a 21-3 game.
Yeah. And the reason it was 21, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bears have a good defense. We've mentioned this earlier. I mean, you look at his stat line, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 28 on 39 on completion attempts. Drew Brees is just he's got to, when he wants to throw the ball 15 yards down the field, he's putting his entire body into it.
It's like it's coming because he needs to do this like huge windup to be able to get the ball that far. So it's just like that's kind of always the sign that a quarterback is done when you just tell they're putting maximum effort in to flick the ball 25 yards down the field, and then Mahomes is going like, so
exactly.
So. And, I think that Sean Payton really did a good job yesterday of not putting Drew Brees into positions where he was forced to make big plays. And that's not to say Brees didn't throw the ball down the field at all yesterday, because there were a few really nice throws that he made, specifically the one to Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
That well, Brees kind of launched it up there, and so Brees, while I think we're both in agreement that Brees is probably done, Sean Payton's kind of figuring out
how to win with him,
how to win with him, and how to not make him look like an old decrepit man who can't throw the football anymore. So good on Sean Payton for that. Obviously, we all said the Bears were. I mean, me and you thought maybe the Bears could cover, but win this game, and they actually really did have a chance to win the game. The drop. We need to talk about the drop.
Oh my Lord! I mean, if Mims catches that ball, you're looking at a completely different game.
Now, I believe it was 7-3 at the time, right? So that would have given.
It was either 7-3 or 7-0 when that had occurred.
I think it was 7-3 if I'm remembering right, but
I think it was.
And they scheme up their little bag of tricks, trick play that they've probably been waiting weeks to use, and it works to perfection. And Mitch throws an absolute dime. Literally couldn't have been more perfect to throw.
Could have been Mitch's best throw of his career, really.
And Mitch was okay. I mean, he wasn't good by any means, but he wasn't good. He wasn't
bad.
He was kind of just Mitch. And the report came out right before the game that even though a lot of people speculated they would, that the Bears are probably not going to bring back Mitch Trubisky. He could be someone's backup.
He could also fight for a starting job, but I think he's going to be someone.
I think he could.
Considering what's happened to Jameis and Mariota, how they've kind of just been instant backups, I don't think someone's going to bring him in to fight for a job. Maybe. Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't mind Trubisky as a backup option for the Patriots, but he's still a young guy, so I don't know what's going to happen on Trubisky. It's not really that important, because I think the Bears are kind of going to be the same team next year, no matter if they have Mitch at quarterback or not.
You really can't fix personnel there, who, by the way, they were dealing without a lot of those guys. I think it was Miller and it was Mooney who
Miller got ejected.
Yeah.
A pretty damn soft call. He shoved CJ Gardner-Johnson.
But CJ Gardner-Johnson's doing his job, riling up these Bears receivers.
That's now the second time this year that a Bears receiver's been ejected for going after CJ Gardner-Johnson. So good on him, I guess. Makes you wonder what the hell he's saying to them that's pissing them off so much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what the Bears do from here. I don't know what they do. They are in the definition of football purgatory. The Bears are.
Yeah, they're definitely in limbo. They still have a great defense.
I just I don't know what they're gonna do quarterback wise. I think they're gonna probably end up bringing in a Cam Newton for too much money. I think that's what's gonna happen. That would be my prediction if I were to predict.
Even with how many guys are on the market. Because you're definitely making again that Rivers call before you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
I'd rather have Trubisky than Cam Newton.
I would rather have Trubisky, I think, too. But I think
and they're kind of just done with him.
Yeah, I mean, what do you benefit by bringing him back?
Yeah, you don't benefit much by bringing in
Cam. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the Bears are just going to kind of be stuck in this limbo for a while, because they have a good defense. It's not going anywhere. They'll win games based on the back of the defense, but until they figure it out quarterback-wise, they're a proverbial 8-8 best case scenario. The double doink the year they went, didn't they go 13-3? I think
12-4
or 12-4 maybe. But that's the ceiling for them.
Yeah, that's the absolute ceiling. And we kind of made this point earlier to contradict ourselves, how the 7th seed was competitive, and they were competitive in this game, but
yeah, it's not like it was a blowout.
This was not a playoff team. This was not a playoff team.
And it's not a team that
would make the playoffs in the past.
I mean, do you think anyone who didn't make it in the NFC would have given a better fight, say a Cardinals or something like that? I don't think so.
Because of the matchup, no, but I think the Cardinals are a better team. But because of the matchup, because, the defense here and the Cardinals weren't going to – I probably would have been a bigger blowout to the Cardinals played, so.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. It's I don't know what else to say about the Bears. They're in some trouble for the next couple of years.
I hate watching the Bears.
Yeah, they kind of just make me sad every time I watch them.
They're kind of a boring team. Their offense never moves, and this has been literally since their Super Bowl year with Rex Grossman, which they would. I guess Cutler made their offense move, but they also.
It's funny because like if besides Cutler and like you could even make the argument, Mitch Trubisky's probably the best Bears quarterback of our lifetime, which is sad, but like probably
besides
true.
Cutler.
I guess besides Cutler, but even Cutler, you could make the argument they have like about the same amount of playoff success.
I guess Cutler went to the NFC Championship.
So like and then came out and Caleb Haney had to take over. So
yeah.
So like I mean I don't know, but that's just a funny thought to kick around. The Bears
always have a gross offense, and
the Bears have been in quarterback for our entire lives, and probably will be for a while until they figure it out. But once they figure it out, who knows? But that's an if. But anyway, we can probably shift focus to the Saints because
we already kind of talked about Drew Brees. I think their formula for winning any games in this playoff, which they did a lot of, is give the ball to Alvin Kamara because he's really the only thing on your offense that's. I mean, obviously you have Michael Thomas back, but again, you got to put your whole body into it to throw it to him. Alvin Kamara had 23 carries, 99 yards, and a touchdown.
Sean Payton continues to insist on getting Taysom Hill involved no matter what.
According to Nickelodeon, him and Drew Brees are besties out there.
Yeah, they're like SpongeBob and Patrick. But anyway, so I really want to have time to preview the divisional matchups. So we'll kind of move on from this game and talk about the Saints when we get to the Bucs game.
I mean, just to wrap that up, the Saints did what they needed to do.
I don't think anyone was surprised by anything that happened in this game, and that was probably. Of the 6 games, I would say this was probably the least surprising one.
And the game that you kind of went into like, Bears Saints.
Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah. Anyway, final game of the weekend, which was my favorite game, and I think probably your favorite game as well. The Browns, the final score is 48-37. They defeat the Steelers. So high-scoring game. Another scoregami, by the way.
Yeah, there's been a lot of them.
First time that there's ever been a 48-37 game.
Yeah, people don't know. Scoregami is when a new score happens. So say 11-5 has never happened in an NFL game. It may have, I don't know. That's a scoregami. Yeah. And 48-37 was.
And I could tell that was coming when it got to 48, and I was like, wow, the Steelers are going to end with some weird number, and we're going to have a scoregami here. But anyway, so the final score is a lot closer than this game really was.
Oh yeah, I mean this game. When you saw the snap and then Connor and Big Ben just stare at the ball, Browns jump on it, I'm like, oh.
It was over at that point. It was over already.
And if you look back at the game, say that doesn't happen. I mean, 7 points closer, scenarios and whatnot. The Steelers could have won this game. But the Steelers started 11-0, barring a comeback against the Colts and I think it was a few weeks ago, which they did make. Yeah. They would have finished 0-6.
Yeah.
They finished 1-5.
And again, barely.
Get out of my face. Stop dancing. I mean.
Dude, and like, it's funny because we both said probably like during week 16 or so, bet the house on whoever the Steelers wild card.
There was a reason why we didn't feel that way about Cleveland going in is because the COVID, because they just barely beat their backups, because Stefanski's not playing. And then you look at it and
like I'm kicking myself that I didn't.
Oh, me too.
Because wow, I mean that was just it was 28-0 in the first quarter, and that game was over. But we do have to say, so we were talking earlier about Mike Vrabel. Mike Tomlin had a similar blunder.
Yes,
started to make a comeback, and I believe it got to like what 42-30 or something.
I think it was 42-29.
42-29. You're right.
Yes.
And so they get the ball back. They have 4th and 1. Like, I mean,
and bear in mind, there is so much momentum in Pittsburgh's direction.
Yeah. And they were at it was the first play of the fourth quarter is what I wrote down here. So they're at midfield, 4th and 1 to start the fourth quarter. They have all the momentum. Cleveland is starting to think, like what is happening here? You score there and it's a 1-possession game and you punt. Down 13 in the fourth quarter at midfield, 4th and 1. I think they actually took a delay of game and then punted.
They took a delay of game and punted.
So
you trusted the Browns being undisciplined more than you trusted your own offense.
I think this one was a lot worse than
Vrabel. A lot worse.
Because with Vrabel,
that's what you saw earlier in the day. It was like, well, buyer's remorse if you punt.
With Vrabel, you get a stop and you're still down 4 and you still have the ball with a chance to take the lead. You were down, what was it? I don't remember. I think the Browns were up 35-10 at one point.
Yeah. That was the score going into halftime, 35-10.
Yeah, it was 35-10. You get it to a 13-point game with the ball in the fourth quarter, midfield, 4th and 1, and you punt? What?
That lost in the game. Again, you punt, you lose.
That was literally we're surrendering. We're not going to win this game. Here you go. Take the ball back. I can't.
You were trusting your defense on top of trusting your offense to get back to midfield or further, on top of trusting your defense, and then on top of trusting your offense versus trusting your offense, then your defense, then your offense. If you're just looking at it from that perspective.
And
that was shocking.
I mean, and Mike Tomlin's one of the better coaches in the league.
I mean, let's not act like his job is, but that's another big game that the Steelers have a big year and botch it.
It's kind of it's Ben Roethlisberger is a shell of what he once was, obviously, but
that's another guy. Interesting.
He should have won.
Probably the craziest stat line this is maybe the craziest stat line of the season.
Yeah.
47 for 68. 68. He's 40. 501 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. Now, granted, some of those picks were tip picks, but they weren't good throws either. And then the last, the interception to Taki, I think the announcer mentioned, it looks like he threw it right to him. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have some breaking news. The Eagles have just fired Doug Pederson.
No, they haven't.
Yep, the Eagles just fired.
I'm not cutting that out. We just fired Doug Pederson.
Don't cut it out.
See you bye. Wow. See you bye.
Wow. Breaking news mid-record session.
So it's funny that happened now. I was saying while we were recording, wow, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on because it's not see you bye. Thanks for oh my God. Okay, so it's funny that we say this because it was noted earlier that Lurie and Pederson had a meeting today in Florida. I could barely even had a meeting today in Florida to discuss the future and Doug Pederson's vision. And he's gone.
Are you really telling me they're about to keep Howie Roseman?
That's the next thing I was literally about to say. If Howie stays too, if Howie stays too, that would be, I think we would be going on our 4th Howie Roseman head coach. It's obviously not the head coach's problem when you can't evaluate talent and you make these bonehead moves. But woo, wow. Yeah, I mean, Howie's got to go too. I think Jeff O'Leary is going to have a dinner date with Howie Roseman and fire him as well, because
it's a weird move to fire the head coach before the GM. I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like Howie's going to keep his job, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, I mean, we're gonna go over time here if we stay on this Eagles thing for too long. So we'll address.
I'm in shock.
I know.
I'm not in shock, but I am.
Well,
how about that? That's great content to get on the air. Wow.
That is really something. But we will we'll get to that later this week.
Yeah, back onto the Browns and the Steelers.
So you were in the middle of reading Big Ben's stat line. So he threw 68 passes. Which, we were saying a couple weeks ago, the Steelers just don't even have a semblance of a run game. And and you see what happens. You need Big Ben to throw.
I think James Conner played well as a receiving back yesterday. Definitely.
He was fine as a receiving back. He had 5 catches for 30 yards, but he had 11 carries for 37 yards. And so when you're 47 of 68, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. That is just the most wild stat line ever. He broke the record for most completions in a game yesterday, regular or postseason. Yeah, and I don't know what the record is for attempts. I would think probably in a playoff game, no one has ever thrown 68 passes. But uh, uh man, he
What do you
didn't
think about
look
his
very good.
outlook going forward? He's owed $41 million next year. I mean, I
Yeah, I think you have to.
let him go.
I mean, he's a $41 million cap hit for like a below average quarterback at this point.
I felt bad for him. He was crying on the bench.
Yeah, I think he knows that he's done. I
Yeah,
don't feel bad for him.
yeah, I guess.
Eh, I've never been a big fan of Big Ben. Obviously, we
He
won't.
just always been around during our childhood.
Yeah,
So
no, I mean it is. It's like Rivers, Breeze, and Big Ben. It is kind of sad to
they're
see
all
that.
different people, though.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to get into that, but yeah.
It's
Um,
kind of sad to see them. That kind of old guard is falling.
yeah, and the only constant right now is probably Tom Brady.
So, well, anyway, so that's Big Ben. As for the Browns, Baker, 21 of 34, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Pretty dang good from Baker.
All he needed to do and more.
Again, they kind of got the offense going with the ground game. Nick Chubb, you would have actually thought watching the game he had a better stat line than this. He had 18 carries for 76 yards. He was good receiving too. He had 4 catches for 70 yards.
I think what needs to be mentioned there is their running game. I mean, collectively, because you still have Kareem Hunt, 8 carries, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns.
They kind of
and then Chubb had the receiving touchdown. We're probably forgetting about that 50-yard play that pretty much iced the game.
They kind of kept that same formula that they've had all year to win games, which is that run the ball down your throat and go from there. So I think Stefanski probably had a lot to do with the game plan, even if it was from a.
It's funny you mention that because on the broadcast they kept saying how like they've become like Zoom, like the best Zoom team that they've gone over audibles and whatnot on Zoom.
Stuff, yeah. So, I mean, other than that, Jarvis Landry was great last night. The first touchdown, and then he had another couple plays that momentum wise, he was awesome yesterday. Austin Hooper was good too.
The only thing to talk about from here out is Juju, because he a lot of locker room material.
I mean, what is he
if
doing?
there wasn't already some with the whole dancing stuff.
So if you didn't hear, Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver for the Steelers, came out and it noted, I don't want to call him necessarily controversial, but there's been a lot of talk this season. He was like making TikToks dancing on the other team's logo before games and stuff. And, I don't think he's particularly controversial. I just think he's kind of lame. But but anyway, he comes out this week and says the Browns are the Browns, same old Browns, gray faces, some good players, but at the end of the day, it's the same Browns we've always faced. And the Browns, by the way, have not won in Pittsburgh in Big Ben's career. Have not won in Pittsburgh.
2003, I think, which is the year before Big Ben showed up.
So yeah, they have not beaten Big Ben in Pittsburgh once. So that I'm sure that felt awesome for them, especially for guys who've been around there for a long time, which I don't know how many there are left. But anyway, Juju, what are you doing? Like, what are you
probably not playing for the Steelers anymore, considering his contract is up.
He's a free agent, right?
He's been a huge distraction. I mean, he had a great game yesterday, to be fair.
He did have a really good game.
13 catches, 157 yards, and a touchdown. But
he's
been a distraction for the team.
I mean, someone's going to sign him to a big deal.
Big deal? He didn't have a great year. He had a lot of good guys around him, but you know where I could see him going? You know where I could see him just because it's such a them move?
Eagles.
No. The Jets.
The Jets. Yeah. I think that's a really good, not that I think that would go well or be successful, but I think that's a good prediction. I think that's very possible that he could.
And if they weren't already stacked at the receiver position, the second move I would say would be the Cowboys. And honestly, now that you say it, he's probably going to end up with us, isn't he?
I could see the Patriots making a run at him. But
that's another team, yeah. I don't think he's staying, though. He's been too much of a distraction for that team. They have other good young receivers in the team. James Washington actually had a really good game.
I think they'll look to move on from Juju, but we'll get to all that in the offseason. We're at about an hour 10 here. So do you want to go ahead and just run through the divisional matchups, or do you have anything else on this game?
Yeah, we can run through the divisional matchups. I'm sorry. Again, this is like there's a lot going through my head right now. back to we did the head coaching just real quick. I think we're the probably the best job right now.
Oh yeah, I guess we do have to
Probably the best job right now.
I mean, they're a little bit behind the curve though. Like if you're gonna fire your coach, you don't wait this long to do it.
The Eagles are so dysfunctional, so that's maybe we're not the
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you that the Eagles are the best.
If not one, then 2 or 3. I mean, we're better than the 4 teams at the bottom there for sure.
Yeah, but you're inheriting a massive quarterback controversy and not much else, so we'll see. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see what kind if they look for an offensive or a defensive guy. Obviously,
I thought we were gonna give him such a grace period.
Yeah,
I'm happy we fired him. I mean, all season long he's been making stupid decisions. He lost the team when he punted the ball in week 3. Sorry to get sidetracked again with Doug, but this is just wow. I think Howie's either got to be next or
yeah. I don't think they should
rebuild
the next coach. But anyway, we'll get into the divisional games.
Saturday at 4:35. You got the Rams and the Packers. I'm really excited for that game. I think it's going to be a great game.
Now, I guess Goff is playing.
It's got to be, or Johnny Hecker is, or whoever they bring in.
I mean, I would assume they have some kind of practice squad guy in line, but
yeah,
Goff is going to play, obviously. So
8:15 Ravens Bills.
Yeah, we'll start with the Rams. I think this is probably the type of game where the Rams are going to have to pretty much shut down Aaron Rodgers to have any chance. And you said, I know you were saying that you think the Rams have a decent shot, but I don't think so. I don't really see them going into Lambeau and putting up much of a fight with an injured Jared. I mean, like I just said, if they can contain Rodgers and if Jalen Ramsey can shut down Devontae Adams and if they can kind of keep that Packers offense bottled up, then for sure they have a chance. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't really see
I mean,
that.
7.5 is a good line for a reason. I mean,
I would take the Packers to cover that.
Yeah, but I definitely think there's a chance the Rams end up winning this game. It's also another thing. It was documented in his draft preview. Jared Goff can't really play in the cold or the rain. He's also got a broken thumb. Again, it's not their
Hammer Packers, I think.
Yeah, it's not their MO to throw the ball a bunch of times a game. McVay's a great coach. Packers are probably going
to. We were talking earlier about the Rams quarterback situation. I think maybe if Goff goes in and has a horrible game and they get killed, maybe they consider taking a look at in the quarterback.
Definitely, I think there's a bigger. They're definitely taking a look. Period. I think.
I mean, as a GM in the NFL, even if you
always take a look.
Take a look, yeah. But I think probably this is an interesting point, but I think maybe the best thing for the Rams would just to be getting killed in this game and having Jared Goff play bad. Because I don't, because at the end of the day, I don't really think the Rams are. I don't want to say they don't have a chance at the Super Bowl this year because they're in the divisional round, but
you only got to win 3 games.
Unlike at this point, anyone can win, but I don't know. I don't like the Browns. I don't like the Rams' chances this weekend, but we'll see.
Real fast, it's actually something I saw on Twitter this morning. Pretty funny. The 2 teams that lost to the Jets won as underdogs this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. And another thing that I saw that's got to be of note, the oldest AFC quarterback left is Baker Mayfield.
Huh? AFC
quarterback left in the playoffs.
Oh, he threw me off for a second there. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, 8:15 is Ravens Bills. I think that's a great game.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and I think the Ravens are not the best matchup for the Bills. I'm talking about the Bills offense against the Ravens defense.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to work to the Bills' favor in this game? Obviously, we saw what the Ravens rush defense can do yesterday in containing Derrick Henry. What's going to work to their favor is the fact that they don't really rely on the ground game to kind of establish that offense.
Yeah.
So, and the Ravens are decent in the secondary. They're definitely, Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith. They're Marlon Humphrey. Obviously, they're far from bad in the secondary, but I think Josh Allen will be able to do what he does. And I like the Bills in this one. I don't know what the line is.
It's 2.5 actually. I think they're going to cover that.
2.5 is pretty generous. The Ravens, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think people are putting a little bit too much stock in how good the Colts were, because I think the Colts are probably a better team than the Ravens, even though the Ravens have been really hot.
I think so too.
Night game in Buffalo, cold. Yeah, come on. It's going to be a good game. I think the Bills are going to, again, we're going to get into it more later. I think the Bills are going to take that game.
Give me Bills by a touchdown, I think. I think it'll be a good game. I don't think they'll beat them down, but, I'm not picking Lamar against this Buffalo defense on the road again.
No.
I don't think so. I don't see that.
An interesting line for the next game, 3:05 on Sunday, the 17th. Browns Chiefs. The Browns open up +10, or the Chiefs open up -10.
Wow, that's
for a team that's been resting 2 weeks. Now here's a pick I like in that game, because I think what you're going to see is the Chiefs, which we've seen in the playoffs last year, especially against the Titans. You might see them come out flat, and the Browns come out kind of hot.
Yeah, I think that is what's going to happen.
First half, maybe the Browns something, or the first quarter something.
First half Browns. Yeah, I would like that. So
but I wouldn't touch the full game, because I don't know.
And we were saying this earlier in this show. The Chiefs, Mahomes hasn't played in 2 weeks. They didn't finish the season looking great. I believe the last game Mahomes played, they barely beat the Falcons. Maybe the Chiefs aren't this wagon that everyone thinks they are this year. I don't know.
We'll see. We're gonna figure out all about that this Sunday. So
I think we're gonna find out a lot about the Browns, and I think we're gonna find out a lot about the Chiefs this week.
See, that's a really interesting matchup. In terms of winner, it's really hard to go against the Chiefs. Although I really think the Browns could win this game. Seriously,
I'm gonna take the Chiefs to win, but +10.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I wouldn't take the Chiefs.
The thing is, I think it's going to be a touchdown game all game long, and the Chiefs might pull away with
neither of us are going to be shocked if Mahomes just comes out and the Chiefs win by 30.
No. So it's a very unpredictable game and a very interesting game that we're going to find out a lot about a lot of people.
So that I would say that's probably my favorite matchup of the week, just because I like the Browns a lot. But so as for the final game. Actually, this is my favorite matchup.
This is my favorite matchup of the weekend, because don't forget, we got the divisional aspects. We got Brady 3. Breeze is 2-0. Brady losing to the same team 3 times in a year?
Now,
definitely never happened. So
I was saying this to my friends yesterday, my Saints fan friends, because I'm now in Alabama, so there's a lot of kids from that area. I am just rubbing my hands together at the thought of Tom Brady ending Drew Brees' career on Sunday.
Oh Lord.
Because that is what's going to happen if the Bucs win. Breeze is not coming back next year.
Breeze is not coming back.
The Bucs
actually made a $5 bet with one of our friends last night that Breeze is going to come back regardless. I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Free $5.
I'll take your money. If you're when you listen to this, he's going to be like, come on.
Now, I mean, I'm taking the Bucs.
I'm taking the Bucs too. And Saints -3. I'm probably gonna take the Bucs. I am taking the Bucs money line.
It's Saints -3. I'm thinking the Bucs come out and steamroll them. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Like steamroll, as in what is steamroll?
Not like a 30-point beatdown, but I think it's gonna be a dominating performance from start to finish, and they're gonna win by multiple touchdowns. That's what I think.
I kind of agree. I agree there.
And again, it would just be too perfect for Tom Brady year 1 in the NFC to come in and end Drew Brees' career.
And literally over the past decade, coming from, I'm an NFC guy, you're an AFC guy. Obviously, I don't root for the NFC. But anyway, one of the big quarterbacks in our conference has been probably the biggest over the past decade. And you could say, Rodgers. Well, anyway, top 3 has been Brees. He comes in and just slays him.
Yeah.
Grim Reaper. Goodbye. Undertaker.
I think I told you this stat this morning before we started recording.
Oh, you did? Yeah, it's a good stat.
If the Bucs win on Sunday, Brady officially has more playoff wins against the NFC than Drew Brees. Drew Brees is now, I believe, 9-8 in the playoff. I think it was 8-8 in the playoffs going into yesterday. Obviously, one of those wins comes against the AFC, so you can knock off one of them. Brady has 6 wins against the NFC already, and now 7 with the Washington victory, and has a chance to get his 8th. I mean, what else can you say about this man?
Every number, every anything. It's just Tom Brady. Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady.
I really, really like the Bucs this weekend.
Me too. Like you saying, dare I say, other than the Packers, to me, the most surefire win this weekend. I don't think the Saints are going to come in
and like, I don't know, because I really like this Bucs team, and I don't know what's going to happen with them if they have to go to Lambeau, because they've already beaten Lambeau. They've already won in Lambeau this year, and that was an absolute beatdown, which I think works against them in a second matchup. But week 1, Bucs take on the Saints. They kind of ended up getting, I don't want to say killed, it was multiple touchdowns, but Brady outplayed Breeze in that one. Breeze did not look good at all. And then the second time they played,
don't forget, was that week 1 or it was week 1, correct?
Week 1. That was week
1. That's the first week after, again, we've mentioned this before. You don't have the training camp. You don't have the this and that this year.
And I thought Brady looked really good that first week, even though the numbers might not have said it. But then I can't remember what week the second game was, but the Saints beat him down. And that absolutely works to the favor of the Bucs.
100. I can say with confidence, just based off of the history of the Patriots and Brady and whatnot, that no one's beaten Brady 3 times in the same.
Never lost 3 times to the same team. He's actually, I believe, this year getting swept.
Probably the first time there was 2.
It was the first time the Patriots had been swept by a division opponent like in 20 years.
So forget about that.
But. I mean, I don't know. I really like the Bucs.
Me too. I'm pretty confident with the Bucs in this one too.
Saints -2, Bucs money line. I think I might even throw some money on that.
Ooh.
We'll see.
I know I will, but that's we have different betting outlets.
A little bit more better than I am, but anyway. Other than that, I don't really have a ton on the rest of the divisional games.
Yeah, we could either talk about Watson now or push that back if you'd like.
Yeah, let's talk about Watson real quick.
All right.
We're at an hour 22. The Texans have not hired a new head coach yet. They did hire a new GM, who is Nick Cassiero, who is like the director of personnel for the Patriots for the longest time.
You mentioned he's kind of like the assistant GM over there.
Like Belichick, he's like Belichick's little underling pretty much. And so the Texans bring in yet another Patriots guy to try to right the ship. And now, so Watson had some thoughts on who he wanted to be the GM, right? And he gave those thoughts to ownership. He gave his suggestions to ownership, and they hired a different guy for GM, which I don't know why he would be so upset about the hiring of the GM process. I don't think a quarterback should even really have a say in that. Like it's a general manager.
I guess you are Deshaun Watson. You're kind of the.
I understand that, but he really wanted Eric Bieniemy as head coach, and they didn't interview him. They chose not to interview him, which that's where I can understand.
That I can understand Watson's perspective. Look, and JJ Watt said it to him best. They're really wasting his prime, and he knows it. I think there are so many good spots for Deshaun Watson. And honestly, I wanted to mention this earlier, but here's my little sleeper. And we can get into this even more down the line when trades open up and whatnot, or when something actually happens. My sleeper pick, and you said this before, give Washington a quarterback, they're going to be a problem. I would love, and I know they're in a division, but I mean, we just fired our head coach. General manager's probably at the door. We're probably going through a rebuilding phase. I'd love to see Watson in Washington with that young team, those young pieces, that young defense. I think that would be.
Yeah, and you say there's so many teams. Like, there's probably maybe 5 teams that wouldn't be interested.
That wouldn't be?
I don't think there's more than 5 teams that wouldn't say I want.
Yeah, okay, I agree. I think you could literally see a Rams in the running. You could literally look at NFL teams.
Someone like that.
The Dolphins, and that's kind of been circulating. The Tua and the third, you put the Texans right back to square one with a quarterback. I don't mind that at all. The Jets, if they wanted to trade that pick to number 2.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
the Cowboys aren't locked into Dak Prescott. We both don't love Daniel Jones. The Eagles could give him Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz. Washington, literally, there are full divisions that could go out and get a Deshaun Watson. I think this is probably one of your most interesting ever. Okay, there's a quarterback on the line type of guy. Much more than Kirk Cousins 3 years ago, and we've seen where that works. Another team, like the possibilities here are kind of endless, and I'm excited.
I can't remember a time in our lifetime that a bona fide top 5 quarterback in the league who just signed an extension was so unhappy with his team and demanding a trade. You just don't see that with quarterbacks. This is like unprecedented ground.
You don't see how bad the Texans are either, though.
I don't blame Deshaun Watson at all for wanting
in the slightest. He should want out, and they should be okay with it.
What's interesting, really, I saw a report. I think it was from Rappaport, maybe not. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a report that said that last offseason, when they traded DeAndre Hopkins, Watson anger level on a scale from 1 to 10 was like a 2, and now it's like a 10. Which I don't understand why he'd be so much more upset now than he was last year. But,
maybe he was like, I have some faith in the deal, et cetera, which I don't know why you would, but
he chose to trust Bill O'Brien.
I saw something that said, if they don't trade him, he'll just sit out.
I doubt it. I would doubt it.
I wouldn't want to play for that team after everything. I'm not gonna go get hurt for a team that's gonna win 2 games and get rid of him. Trade me. They're gonna trade him. I'm fairly certain when you
think there's no chance he ends up staying?
No, I don't. I don't. I think there's like a 2% chance he stays.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's tough to be a Texans fan.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think there's probably he's your franchise quarterback who you just extended. I think there's probably better than a 2% chance they end up keeping him.
I guess maybe 10.
What the new GM needs to do is, and I would think he's probably already done this, but he needs to, sit down with Deshaun Watson and talk and figure out a way what's going to make him happy. And they need to give him some input this offseason in terms of personnel because,
either way, I think he's probably on his way out.
We'll see.
You may look at the Texans being one of those bottom feeder teams after being a playoff team for some time.
Yeah, and
finally getting their quarterback. It was always the thing. They were going to the playoffs and starting, Sage Rosenfels and whatever, But funny how the football cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and that's something that obviously we'll keep focused on all off season, but we thought we should probably cover because it's been a hot story this week. Other than that, we're at about an hour and a half. I don't really have anything else other than the national championship tonight, so I got to go start getting ready for that. But
yeah, roll Tide. I'm.
You have any closing thoughts?
The Eagles, man, I have so many thoughts and I can't articulate them into words.
We will we'll definitely cover that in
probably the next show after we talk about the national championship, because I'm definitely going to have a lot to vent about. And I just kind of need some time to process these thoughts. Maybe, go for a walk or something. Think about it.
Other than that, we will be coming at you guys with the national championship recap probably tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. We'll see.
I'm thinking if they win, you're gonna want to talk about it tomorrow, and if they lose, you might not want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, it'll depend how I feel tomorrow morning. So we'll update you guys on that. But other than that, I think that's probably all we have for episode 5.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Listening, and roll Tide, and we'll see you guys later this week.
Roll Tide, roll.